Welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Graham Edward, who's the Managing Director at Edward Architecture. So, Graham, firstly, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and your business to us, what you do and how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Thanks so much, Chris, and thanks for having me on. So I'm Graham. I founded Edward Architecture in 2005. The company started off with just myself. We've grown to 14 staff.
Wow.
Over those 17 years. We have a head office in London. We have a kind of satellite office. Sorry, we have a head office in Leeds and a little satellite office in London.
Brilliant.
The Leeds office is quite near the railway station in the city centre. And the London office is at Angel, which is very handy for King's Cross.
Oh, great.
I'm a Leeds lad, hence being based in Leeds. Love the city. The city's given me so much in my career. You know, I've worked for a few Leeds practices before I set up my own practice. Went to uni and college in Leeds. Love the football team. Always lived in Leeds, etc. So I started work in 1982. I remember it well because the World Cup was on when I got a phone call from my future boss saying I'd got the job. I think Argentina were playing Italy in 1982 when I was about 17 years old.
Brilliant.
That practice isn't around anymore now, but it was called Jake's Associates, and they sent me to Leeds College building for Monday, and then Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. We then went to Leeds Poly. Studied for the Chartered Institute of Architectural Technology, and worked for career evolved to the point where I was a regional director of the Leeds office of a national architects practice called Chetwoods.
Yep.
In 2005, I think I got to the stage where I'd got the right experience, the right exposure to clients. I'd got a few other key ingredients. One was a supportive family who would support me with me going into business on my own. We got no silly debts and loans, money problems, apart from a mortgage, which everybody's got. And I set the practice up, and it was a big, scary decision. Oddly, it wasn't half as scary as the next big decision, which was taking on the first member of staff.
Yes.
And we've kind of done all right, really, sort of steady growth since then. The practice itself covers most architectural bases. We do have 3 specialisms, and if you don't mind, Chris, I'll just
Please,
talk
yeah.
for a second, because I think this is a big part of our character. So we do a heck of a lot of housing work for the house builders, for housing associations, and for small developers and individual householders.
Yeah.
We do that work all the way through. So we'll design, we'll do planning, we'll do working drawings, we'll run on site, etc. We probably work. Last year, we worked on 10,000 housing units across the UK. Think about that's a lot, that from start to finish.
Yeah.
We, as well as just doing housing, we do a lot of modular and off-site manufactured housing. So that's the housing specialism we've got.
Yep.
We also work on strategic land and master planning. So this is working for the big landowners at the very early stages of development, really trying to get a planning allocation for big pieces of land. So the types of people who work for there are some planning consultancies, some local authorities like Leeds City Council and Barnsley Council we've worked for. Also big institutions like the church, biggest landowner in the UK.
Right, yeah.
And Yorkshire Water through Key Land Development. So really pleased with that kind of, I'll call it a blue chip client base, but the amount of potential land that they're working with over a long-term period. So we work for the high-level stuff, the fluffy master plans, planning-friendly kind of work. We do the house building, and then the other specialism we've got is working for the courts, making adaptable buildings for disabled people, somebody who's had an awful injury.
Yeah.
So the courts win, when somebody's had an awful injury and the courts win a settlement,
Yeah.
that lump of money goes towards their care and accommodation for the rest of their lives. And the courts hang on to the money. They keep it safe. They act as like a bank. And we will design a very bespoke house for the individual who's got the disability or the injury. It's very caring. It's quite emotional. You've got to be very, very attentive, understand the needs, not just the needs of the person, the needs of their family, their carers. And some of these houses can be quite big projects, and we work on those all the way through. So those are our three specialisms. We do lots of other stuff as well. We do offices, industrial units, schools, etc. Really pleased with what's happened in 2023. With the biggest we've been. We're up to 14 staff now.
Well done.
We won a national award, Architect of the Year, in March in London, in Birmingham actually. The BRE ran an awards evening on procurement awards, and we won Architectural Practice of the Year, which was fantastic.
Well done.
So that's us and how we've got there and where we've got to.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So when you were growing up, is this where you foresaw you being now, or did you have other plans at that point?
Well, I was brought up, so I mentioned 1982, sort of leaving school, etc.
Yes.
It's totally different time then on the job scene. It seemed like your job's choice was working, working for the army, working in the mill, being a copper, working down the mines, or maybe doing a trade. But it wasn't like now. There's an array of different jobs. But my favourite lesson at school was TD, technical drawing.
Right, yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
T-squares, set squares, pencils, and I just fancied being a draftsman. And I applied for a few jobs and things, and got my first job in, as I said, at Jakes Associates. I was office junior. It was on. I don't know if you remember. This was a youth opportunities scheme. It was called. I used to get 30 quid a week. They sent you to college, the government paid for it and helped get people on. They helped the company fund a trainee and they helped the trainee get a job. So it was a great little scheme, and it was the same kind of cost as being on the dole at the time. So everybody's a winner. But at the time, I was a young lad, and apart from learning how to draw on the set squares and stuff, I was also a sandwich man. So I'd go around the office with a little box and ask for everybody's sandwich order. I used to cut the grass for the office, used to clean my boss's car, take loads of prints in the cellar all day, and gradually learn to draw at the same time as well. Right. What's amazing about being around in architecture then is that each architect had so much space in the office. They had this huge set square, T-square drawing board. They had loads of drawing layout space. They had a huge technical library.
Yeah.
All folders and paperwork, big plan chest for storing all the drawings. And I think now my office upstairs, there's all the desk space upstairs for 14. I think 2 architects would have fit in that space in 1992. So it's changed quite a lot. Yeah. I always fancied. I love technical drawing.
Yeah, wonderful.
From there.
And obviously you've had some great growth to 2005 to now. And what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as you've grown? Well,
there was a huge recession, wasn't there, in 2008, which was 3 years after we started. And it just, I don't know if we were lucky, but it just kind of passed us by, really, because we started our little bit of growth through that time. Maybe it was because we were new kids on the block. We were lean, vibrant, low overheads. At the time, there was a fact I think 40% of UK architects were actually out of an architectural job at that time, 2008, 9, that sort of time. So we just seemed to, whether we were on the right horses, the right types of work, or whether we were lean and fresh, I don't know, but we did all right with that time on housing, strategic land. I mean, if you think about it, the strategic land guys, they're not really bothered about what their land might be worth today. It's a 10-year view, so
yeah,
they might carry on regardless. Social housing really didn't stop at the time.
yeah.
So maybe it was that, but I think that was the biggest challenge we had, was getting through that huge and growing at the same time.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's a great quote from I think it's from Walt Disney, actually, which I always love. I think he said something like, "I'm told there's a recession coming, but I've chosen not to participate," which I thought was pretty cool. And because it's always, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because there's always recessions. For me, recessions are a mindset issue more than anything. We believe things are going to be terrible, so guess what? They are. And but the reality with recessions in general, if you look at the sort of at a national level, Graham, it's a recession is 3 months of negative growth. I think that's the definition. But what it means in terms of GDP, gross domestic product, is the worst it drops typically is no more than about 10%. I think the deepest have been just above 20%. But at 10%, that still means 90% of the people are still buying the stuff they were buying before the recession. So it's not like everything stops. It's just a bit more difficult, and I think it's just about the people that are active. You said lean and mean and hungry. We just still find the work. I think it's just having that mindset of it's not going to affect me like it might be affecting other people.
Yeah, I mean that recession and the one before that, they were quite cruel, really.
They were tough, no doubt about that.
Estates and property, they with everything, don't they? People stop buying out, spending, funding gets expensive and silly, and values drop. The whole thing doesn't work anymore. So they were quite cruel to architecture and construction and property.
Yes, and of course, construction tends to be the first in, doesn't it? Which is
Whereas where we are now, there's all sorts of talks about, it's been mentioned, hasn't it, the recession word. But I just think if you drew that chart of the drops and the peaks and flows, I think this is just kind of dribbling around the flat line, whereas those were So a tiny recession now is not dissimilar from a tiny bit of growth, and it's not as cruel and as it was.
I think the 2008 one was one of the deepest ones we've ever had. So it was literally a really bad one, but it's still, as you said, a time to survive and grow, which is wonderful. And what would you say are some of the biggest things you've learned about business and growing businesses in general?
I think it's a few little points. Understand what are the key aspects and keep control of them. So really get to grips with what's key and just keep control of those. I'm a big believer in enhancing staff careers, giving people an opportunity to learn and see a career path and an end goal to that. We're big on learning and education at the moment. 60% of all our staff are doing some sort of university at the moment, for example.
Wow, brilliant.
Which is, it's a little bit of a hit on, but I think it's really important.
Good for you.
Important to show everybody that career support.
Brilliant.
Because that team, the biggest thing about any business, particularly consultancies, is that team.
Yeah.
And keeping that team and believing in them and them becoming your culture of the future. So a massive believer in that. Giving staff as well lots of exposure to clients and projects and opportunities as part of that learning, making it a great place to work. And another big thing for me is sort of giving as well as taking from the city, the business community, helping out with charities, and letting people know you're doing that. I mean, there's a couple of examples, and I just think it comes back. If you're giving, people see it and it comes back. And
yep.
we like to help a charity called the Yorkshire Children's Charity.
Oh yes, familiar with them. Yeah.
In fact, we're doing a sponsored walk on their behalf.
Brilliant.
On Friday up Snowdon. Most of us guys are going to wander up Snowdon.
Well done.
That's next Friday. But I'm also a director of a charity called the Holbeck Viaduct Project. And again, it's pro bono. There's a group of people who are really keen to see something happen to a 1.7 kilometre Victorian viaduct that runs kind of from Leeds Station to nearly Ellen Road football ground.
Yeah, yeah.
It hasn't had a train on it since 1983. It's got 93 arches, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And we just look, as a group of people who either live there, commute under it, see it every day, it's become part of our lives. We'd love to create a linear walkway, parkway, cycleway, with drop-off points and get-ups and downs. So that very much like the New York High Line, which I've been to, and it's fantastic. And I just think having something like that in Leeds would be an absolute game changer for the city, linking communities and things like that. So we're just doing as best to try and get a bit of traction from people like Leeds City Council, Network Rail. They're on board, actually. Local landowners who would need to actually use their land to get up, etc.
Yeah, of course.
Early days yet, but a great idea.
Brilliant idea. No, very good look.
The message there is I think giving as much as taking is important.
Completely agree. It's like I think I'm trying to think who it is. I think it's Brian Tracy, but he's got a great phrase of, you know, I'm going to basically that idea of the more I serve, the more I deserve. It's you give, you get, and the more you give, the more you get, and that's great because it's not only is it a great thing, it's, you know, it's a nice thing to do, isn't it, to be able to give back and help other people, and but it is a success strategy as well in many ways.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
So you probably where Action Coach itself is a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general.
Well, my first boss, Paul Jakes, who is retired now, he still keeps in touch. He was my first mentor and taught me how to draw.
Great.
And just understand the profession. One of my follow-up bosses, Jeff Cunningham at Chetwoods, so sort of 1995 to 2005 period, really trusted me, let me loose with clients, learned so much by that. Just great guys, really. And then much more recently, myself and co-director Chris Riley, we've both done the Help to Grow course at the Leeds University Business School.
Great.
Introduced us to some mentorship. And that course is fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And it's funded 90% by the government, and we've just learned so much. It's been brilliant, and we've taken on board a lot of the advice about growth, and we've got a new growth plan for the next 5 to 8 years, you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's my mentor kind of
wonderful bit. And where would that plan take you?
2030, 30 staff.
Wonderful. Well, wowzers.
So part of that growth plan, we are moving office in the next 3 months to a place called Marshall's Mill in the Holbeck, traditional Holbeck area of Leeds.
Okay, yeah.
To my viaduct, right next to the Temple Works area.
Yes.
And it's a bigger office, which will give us that growth. Quite packed in our office in the city centre at the moment, but that's the plan. Yeah, and the inspiration of that has been the mentorship from the Help to Grow course. Yeah,
brilliant. Oh, wonderful! That's great, really great to hear. And have you picked up along the way any favourite quotes or sayings that you find yourself using quite a lot?
Well, one, yes, I have. So one big aim, we've nearly said it earlier, is you reap what you sow. That's
Yeah.
it. As you definite, that just happens. It's a fact.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow. I'm a great believer again in what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
The amount of people, stories, things where you think, one day that will happen, or you can see that guy's been really helpful there. One day it will happen. He'll get what he deserves. When I was thinking about starting up in business, I'd seen friends and proteges do it, and I wondered whether I should jump and do it. I went to, do you remember at Rudding or at the Harrogate Showground, they used to do a Yorkshire Business Conference?
Yes.
I went to a couple of them, and they always had an inspirational speaker.
Yep.
This particular lady was the Coffee Republic lady, and she told this story about struggling to get there. Finally, 50th bank she went to for a bit of cash, got some money, set up the first shop. Didn't make a profit for 6 months, but as soon as it clicked into gear, it just kind of flew and went on and on. And her parting line was, if you take that leap of faith, if you jump, somebody will put out a net and catch you and support you. And that's definitely true. I think if people see that bravery, they will catch you and support you, Yes. And I think the last one I've got is, when people often say, "Bah, he dropped lucky. That guy dropped lucky there, was in the right place, right time." And you kind of, when you're younger, you think that's the case, but it's hard work, isn't it? Those people who are lucky have worked hard to be in that lucky situation. So hard work creates the luck.
Absolutely, they always talk this overnight success, don't they? And it's like, I remember hearing somebody I think he was winning an award, and he said, "Yeah, it's taken 20 years of hard work to get overnight success." Yeah. And people don't see that either, do they? That's the thing. It's they don't see that all that blood, sweat, and tears that goes into doing what we do. And Graham, what would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your career so far?
So I think if something's in big decisions in life and career and stuff, if it's thought through and it feels right, and it works for you, and you put the work in, it'll work. Trust that you've got it in you, or you've got the ability, or you've got the support. And because one thing that's not worth doing is getting towards the end of the career and not having done that thing, not having started a business, not done something brave.
Yeah.
Other examples are that me and my family have done a couple of self builds, for example, over our house moves and stuff. And the amount of people that I've bumped into say, "Oh, we'd love to do that. We'd love to do that one day." And you just know that they probably won't.
Yeah.
It takes that brave jump. If it feels right and it's thought through, go for it. Don't regret not doing it. That's it.
Well, love it. Absolutely love it. Well, great way of looking at things. It's okay. It's that first step as well, isn't it? It's taking that first step, and that's probably the most difficult one. Like you said, the biggest challenge after starting the business was getting the first employee, because it's that's the first one. The 10th one is a breeze comparatively, isn't it, to the first one? Yeah,
because that first member of staff, all of a sudden, you're not just worried about your mortgage, are you? You're responsible for somebody else then. You're in a different world all of a sudden.
It certainly messes with your head, I think, quite a lot. And so looking forward then, Graham, you've described it, but I mean, you look into your growth plans. What does the future look like? I mean, you said, and I was just doing my maths in my head. So basically, I think what you said is you're doubling the size of the team in half the time you take it to get to where you are now, which is wonderful.
That's the plan.
Brilliant.
As I said, we're going to get the office that's big enough to do that in, and it's got the kind of stature. We're hoping it will show the world that we've got the capacity. I think when they see our office at the moment that we've been in since 2013, we did interview a few of our clients and kind of said, look, what is our value proposition? Why do you pick up the phone and call us sometimes? And on the other hand, why do you sometimes think, oh, we won't use them this time, we'll call another? And the feedback was the reason the definite reason why they did pick up the phone and ring was because of our service response. Really nice guys to work with, personable, do a good service, trustworthy, don't make a fuss, help them out, deliver, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the key reasons why they sometimes didn't pick up the phone was they were a little bit worried about capacity. And I think our office at the moment showed that, even though we have got the capacity, it's just the impression, isn't it? So
yeah,
we're hoping that the office move, which is a big investment for us, it really is, but that will be the catalyst to growth. We've commissioned a company to do a new website for us to tell that story as well.
Wonderful.
And across how great we are to work for, what great team we are. There's a buzz about the place, that we're about making careers and helping people learn. Giving back as much as we take out of the community and out of the project, and getting that message across, really, that's our kind of message for growth.
Brilliant. And what challenges do you foresee, if any, in that growth curve?
I think the biggest challenges are what the market does.
Yeah.
I am very confident, though. I think since if you go back over the last 5 years, it's been doom gloom. Every time you turn on the TV, when the Brexit vote happened, we were going to have a recession.
Yeah.
And resilient Britain got through it. When Brexit did happen, we were going to have a recession. Resilient Britain walked through it. When COVID happened, we were going to have a recession. Resilient Britain has got through it. And then there's the sort of cost of living, Ukraine war, interest rates, everything. We're going to have a recession, and we've kind of fleeted on the edge of it. But resilient Britain is proving again it is resilient, and it's going to get through it. So I'm very confident that I'm confident about Britain as a country being resilient. I'm confident that the market will work its way through, and we're on the right horses to keep my guys busy and growing. I do sometimes worry that the general government, public sector parts of Britain are clogging us all up a bit at the moment.
Yeah.
The post-COVID clog up, want of a better word. We need them to perform and deliver. We need land registry to turn things around quicker. They need resourcing. We need planning departments to have the resources to turn things around over time and keep things going.
Yeah.
And every business relies on different part of this public sector to help projects and things happen.
Yes.
And we've got to take those brakes off to get Britain not just bobbling around on this flat line, to get that going. So I mean, the main thing for us at the moment is we have got a business growth plan, and a lot of it's around my succession and future investment from within in the practice, and the team. So exciting times.
Very exciting. Yeah, no, it'd be great to swing by in another 12 months or so and just see how how things are going with you. But that sounds very, very exciting. And I'm keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now, Graham.
Well, think it through. Have faith in yourself.
Great.
Much help as you can. It's quite easy to have a plan and think you know it all.
Yeah.
And kind of half-heartedly listen to the help and advice. But just don't be stubborn. Don't be stubborn and kind of half ignore it. Take that advice. It's so important.
Brilliant.
And also, I think over the years we've been on the front foot on innovation, really, and anything in building construction, sustainability, etc. We've tried to really understand the next things that are happening with construction, and the way construction and buildings going, and to be really on that latest thing, get passionate about it, and be able to offer advice to. So, for example, the building regulations are changing a heck of a lot at the moment for houses, because they need to be more energy efficient,
yes, of course,
towards carbon neutral, etc.
Yeah.
So by being on the front foot on all those regulations, we've been able to help the house builders through that.
Brilliant.
Change, through changing their house types and what the impact is and what they need to do, and I think I mentioned modular briefly before, but that's going to be a much bigger part of construction.
Yes,
it's gonna. One thing construction has at the moment is a resource issue.
Yes,
labour and materials. Young lads coming out of school now aren't that bothered about working on a building site outside in the cold, in winter. But if they're building a factory, it's a much more appetising thing, isn't it? And it will help. It will help with productivity and capacity in construction industry, and it just needs the world. Modular's a little bit more expensive at the moment. Having said that, southeast London-centric build costs have gone up more than the amount that modular is more expensive.
Right. Oh, well, okay. Blimey.
They're currently doing offices for Wokingham Council in modular, and it's competitive.
Right.
With just 25 apartments in. So this is stuff that's built in a factory in Hull.
Yeah.
By a company called MAR, run by Ryan Geldard, who's great. He's been fantastic for that company, seen it through really good growth. But that's where it becomes competitive.
Yeah.
Down there. So, but wouldn't the investment world will see that at the moment when we're procuring buildings, it's just the cost. Everybody's interested in the cost and how much it's built. And I think we've gotten on to what the real life cost of a building is.
Yes.
As part of that kind of calculation.
Yeah.
Modular will
brilliant.
Take off a bit because it needs that. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And if you started again, is there anything significant that you think you might do differently, Graham?
I think I'd have gone slightly earlier.
Right.
I'd start my business slightly.
Yes. Yes.
That would meant that I'd have had to have, I'd have helped more careers, and over the time. So it would have been just 17 years. It would have been, say, 25 years. Yeah. I am keen on the legacy of this company, and I kind of want, when I've retired, I want people who I bump into to sort of come up and say, "Oh, Graham, when I worked with you guys at Edward Architecture, that was the best job I had." That's kind of what I want. Really.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And finally, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do so, Graham?
I would say when you're 18, it all feels like hard work, doesn't it? You think you know it all, and it feels like hard work, college and all that. So I think never stop believing that hard work and all those hours of studying whilst doing things like bringing a family up, buying houses and trying to live an outside life and your career as well. Never believe that they won't pay off and they aren't worth it, because they will be.
Brilliant.
It's a hard work ethos, kind of.
Yeah, love it.
I think.
Wonderful. Well, Graham, it's been really enlightening, really fascinating actually talking to you this today. And as I said, it'd be great maybe to swing by another 6-12 months and just see the next stages on your growth journey. But for anyone watching right now who'd like to get in touch with you or the company, what would be the best way to do that?
Our website is www.edwardarchitecture.co.uk. My email is Graham, Graham, at edwardarchitecture.co.uk. There aren't many Graham Edward in the UK. Quite fortunate, so I'm easy to search and find on LinkedIn as well. There's lots of Edwards.
Yes.
Of Edwards, but there's hardly any Edward.
Okay.
So I've got quite a unique name, really. I think there's only 2 or 3 Graham Edward.
Oh, fantastic.
One's a bagpiper from Scotland. The guy's a hairdresser from Swindon. So I think there's
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's really fascinating, and as I wish you best of luck with everything you're doing, and thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Chris. Great to meet you. Thanks for speaking.
And you, thank you. So tell me a little bit more, Graham, about how you manage those 3 specialisms in particular.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is kind of tell the world, or just promote ourselves, that we have a certain person in the office that runs or looks after, or is a kind of guru to each of the specialisms. So the strategic land and master planning is headed up by myself.
Yep.
So in theory, if anybody was really interested in just wanted to know something about it, they could pick up the phone and ask for me, etc.
Yep.
The housing element is headed up by my co-director Chris Riley, and the adaptable work, the court protection work, is headed up by my third co-director Richard Groter. And what we tried to do on any little press releases and things is put a name to each specialism. Right. So that's how we do it, Chris. Yeah.
Wonderful.